Hi everyone, I am Jasenia. I have not done one of these in the car recordings for a very long time. I'm in the process of redoing my website and relaunching it. Therefore, there's a lot of, there's a lot of work and time I've been putting into that, putting into my blog and so forth. So I haven't been able to record for a while. Today I have the children at home. So I have a full house with 4 kids that are very loud and 3 dogs and a cat and 2 birds. So I thought I would take a moment to talk to people in my nice hoodie out in the car, because I've been getting a lot of clients coming to me and just asking me for some kind of guidance or some kind of information about what's been going on globally. And let me explain this first with a story that happened this morning. My daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, I have 4 kids. I have 2 daughters. One of them's gonna be 14 this month and the other one's 4. She came to me this morning flipping out, screaming, crying, almost passed out. So she has pallid fainting syndrome. So sometimes she gets so worked up that she literally will pass out. So she came to me this morning freaking out, being very emotional. The whole house thought something was up. They thought she had cut herself. They thought she was bleeding. We thought something horrible was wrong. And then she shows me her hand and she says, "What is it? What is it?" And there was like, it looked like blood and something coming out of her hand. It was probably like this big, really tiny. But of course she's 4, so she thought it was the worst thing ever. So I grab her hand, and of course she's still like ready to pass out, screaming at me because she thinks I'm gonna hurt her. And I get closer just to look and see what's going on, and of course it's just a little piece of strawberry jelly, so it falls off. And then she all of a sudden calms down and laughs at herself for being so hyped up about strawberry jelly and literally thinking the worst of it. So in a way, I feel like we're all like this. Humans are all like this. When there is a lot of unknown and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of, a lot of our media focuses on fear mongering. And the reason is because it gets more views. When you feel like you have to watch something because your life depends on it, then you're likely to force other people to watch it. Now, I do agree that scientifically quarantine is a great way to stop the spreading of the virus. Therefore, I am complying and doing my part. Scientifically, it's been proven. But what is not necessary is the conspiracy theories, the false, exaggerated stories, the focus on the negativity. In any given point, now, if we look at the history of the world, we have survived much worse. We have been through much worse. And most of us, this isn't our first go. Most of us are at life on Earth worldwide. Most of us have had 300 lives here. So think about your time here on Earth and think about how absolutely capable you are of making it through this, but also making the most of it. I have noticed that the people that are having a hard time are people who are very connected to their physical world. And so that's really like, we're all being affected by this pretty similarly, but it's almost people who are very dependent on their local physical aspects are even more affected than those that are more connected to their spiritual in many ways. But then again, there's a flip side to that, so I'll explain. For example, disconnection from your job, if you're a workaholic, is going to be really traumatizing. You're going to be stressing out about bills. You're going to be really overworked. You're going to feel like you have no worth. You're going to feel like all of a sudden your life's falling apart and you don't really know what to do with it. Your job is going to be to focus on your family, to take this time as a blessing, to do free things. It doesn't require spending money to play in your yard or shoot some hoops in the driveway or play a game of cards and make it a fun experience for you and your family. Now there's the other version that are financially stressed about what the lack of income is going to do to their families. There are a lot of programs already coming into play that are supposed to help, with whether it's funding, feeding, and a lot of companies have already started creating forgiveness windows for delayed payments. So don't stress out. Call the companies, see who's doing payment forgiveness and things like that, and make a plan. Now, like we said earlier with that example, fear will get you nowhere. The only thing that will get you anywhere is a plan. And don't aggressively plan either. I mean, having a plan and letting it go is really important. We don't need to create a plan and get stuck recreating that plan obsessively, because that's going to create a trauma in itself. Create a plan and let it go. When it comes to your finances, call the company, see who is offering, plan forgiveness, and then save the rest of the money in case you need in case you need something that's necessary and can't wait. Now, a lot of people are freaking out about toilet paper or wipes. And here's the thing. Get creative, just get creative. There's a lot of stuff going around. Create a community board, create a Facebook group where you can contact each other, where you could stay in touch, where you could check up on your neighbors, where the mom down the street with 22 kids can ask somebody for, a roll of toilet paper or something. If you have a stack in your basement, be generous, try to help out. This is about community. This is about community response. I always say do something that you're going to respond in a way you would be proud of. I think a lot of people in a chaos situation like this really revert back to their survivalism, and it's because they are so fearful. They believe it's like them against the world, and that kind of mentality always creates guilt. It always creates some form of lack. I mean, we're all here in this world on a temporary fragment of our existence. How we live in this world does actually come back to us at soul level. We never regret the times where we helped others. We always regret the times we did not. So it's just a reminder to do what you can when you can, if you can. Always. That's always something I push along. But it could make all the difference, even if it's simply just checking up on loved ones, if it's chatting online, if it's checking up on the elderly. Now, the elderly are definitely more at risk, and it's sad because a lot of them don't know how to use technology like we do. Like, for example, I went to Comcast a month ago to go return one of my boxes, and there was a line out the door, but it was all elderly that were making payments to their Comcast account. They didn't know how to make payments online or over bill or even mailing in checks. They had to come directly into the store to pay cash. And it made me giggle a little bit, but it also made me kind of sad because they're missing out on this ability to use technology. But then again, it would be very hard to explain to somebody who wasn't really used to, these people they had no idea. They were really confused about even paying in person. So we have to understand that we have the option of technology, and maybe introducing your loved ones to that would be a great thing, whether it's Skype or video calls, or getting them excited about some form of communication, or videos even, or text. I did create a survival toolkit that I have on my website under blogs, and I'll share the link in the video description. And it has a lot of great pointers about what to do in a time like this. So some of us are really stressed out because we think it's the literal end of the world. I've been getting a lot of this. Now, we have to realize that as a past life seer and a soul reader, I actually have tried to hold off on some of these sessions that I have coming up, because even last week I was already getting, even just having the flu, okay, just having the flu can actually trigger a past life memory where you lost half your family to the flu. So our fear, our horrible fear, our stress, our inability to sleep, our, compulsive cleaning, our compulsive checking on social media and reading the reports and checking the numbers and letting ourselves be overwhelmed is actually usually a past life memory coming forward. So I call it like the layers of trauma. You're talking about this existence, but you're really not. Your fear from your past life is really taking over and really overwhelming you. That is the beauty of past life healing. We can remove that, and then people see this life statistically. So they're like, well, if I do what I'm told, if I'm home, I think we'll be okay. We see it with a kind of calm that we couldn't access before that trauma was triggered, and we kind of panic. So I was seeing a lot of that, and it was really heartbreaking to me because I can't control that. I can't walk around and stop people from being triggered. I can't protect them from these memories. I can help them remove them after they've come through, but a lot of people don't, I can only help the people who come to me. So it's just something to look out for. If all of this chaos has put you in a place of mental, emotional, physical panic, or you feel like you're not doing enough, you can't possibly do enough, and you're suffering mentally and emotionally, and you feel like that's affecting your children or your family, then please understand it could be a past life issue. Sometimes just that awareness can bring us kind of back into a logical state of mind where we say, okay, well, I'm not comparing this to the plague. I'm not comparing this to Spanish influenza. I'm not comparing this to, tuberculosis or something that they've suffered in the past. They're kind of cleaning the slate and saying, I'm only paying attention to what is now. And in that way, you can redirect your energy into our current experience and life here in the now. I also wanted to discuss this idea of the void. Now, if you're on Facebook and you want to hear more about this, I would suggest you join my group Compassion Congregation with I think it says with the NEPM, New England Psychic Medium. And the reason is because last year I channeled a video, 1 hour long video every week of the energy in the cosmos and what was taking place. And a lot of them were preparing us for 2020. So essentially, you want to hear all about 2020, go back into that group and watch the videos. Especially at the end of the year, I had a video I called where we talked about the void. And the fascinating thing was that when we look at the void with such panic, with such fear, most of us respond to our inner void or our soul's void by obsessing over our local energy and environment, by trying to cling to the physical inner life, by obsessing over material possessions and things. We are trying to literally fill that void, that soul to body disconnect, right? That is the void. But we also have a void in which all things are created. So soul, in order to build, must first cleanse and clear. If we look at land and how land is tilled for vegetation, we would have to understand that first land must be cleared. Sometimes they do that by burning, by chopping brush, by removal, and then they just kind of fertilize with, adding new material. But then the void is the digging, right? We go deep. We create actual lack. And the reason we create lack is because we are creating new things. We are creating something brand new, unseen, something that needs to go deeper than the surface. And that is the void. And when we add that seed, we cover it, and it feels really dark and it may feel really cold, but it's actually a very nurturing place to be. It's actually very exciting. It's brand new. It's change. And when we look at our world, there is really very little that has changed. When it comes to our government, when it comes to our structures and systems and our insurance or medical care for our people, a lot of those things have not changed. They're very stuck, especially where I'm from in the US. Talk about lack of change. I feel like we're behind the whole world that now has care for all or health for all, programs that allow everybody to pretty much have equal access to medical care. We are so far behind when it comes to all of that. But if you think about, in my videos, I also discussed what would be shifting starting January. This actually started in January at soul level. So spirit is the energetic baseline of reality. So as spirit shifts, the baseline shifts, then the reality begins to shift after. In January, we saw a massive shift. Spiritually, it's something I can't really share because I only share what I have evidence to, and that evidence would be direct clients who have experienced the same and can verify that. But energetically, there was a lot of shifting going on in spirit, a lot of crumbling of structures. Pretty much we dissolved a whole soul group that was negatively affecting humanity, a demonic soul group that had intertwined its way through humanity. Now, if we look at spirit in any way, we do have, different versions of spirit, and some of them function in chaos and destruction. But this particular group was feeding and stabilizing the government that kind of took advantage of people. So if we look at the way that we have really been taken advantage of. It's more of a system of finance than it is a system of support. And a lot of these are secrets for a lot of communities or governments. It's not a lot of stuff that's out there. But the point is that it started crumbling spiritually and energetically, and now we're seeing the actual reality of that. And the reality of that is that a lot of us are panicking because we live in countries or places where the governments are not really prepared for this kind of stuff, and where we feel like we are out of control. We feel like we don't have any say or control over what's going on. Therefore, we are starting to respond differently and be aware to new things, and they are forced to respond differently. We've seen a lot of radical action, a lot of change, a lot of awareness, about even forcing quarantine. Can you force quarantine if people don't have insurance? Can you force quarantine if people can't make money? So it brings up a lot of moral challenges to how we have always kind of done things, kind of creating a new reality that we need to awaken to, and a new reality that we need to now respond to. So there's a lot of important constructive things coming from this experience, but the most important thing is the void can feel like a very scary place. And we need to understand that it's just the birthplace of something new. And it's a lot like having a child. If we think about the nervousness that comes with it, the chaos, the super fear, it's a scary thing, but it's also the most exciting and most amazing thing that ever happens to us too. So it's very similar, with a lot of excitement or nervousness can come a lot of potential and amazing energy. If we can first stick to staying calm. Like I said, if you think about that little cut story, it really is very similar. Humans all around the world are responding like their hands are bloody, when in reality it's just like a little splinter. And so another thing I wanted to discuss is a lot of people, I feel like the more connected you are to your physical environment and things, the more reactive you're going to be. So it's important to just understand to breathe and stay steady. I know that a lot of people are being kept from, traveling or going to public places, but I recommend at least trying to spend time outside and go for walks. And the reason is because Earth is a natural transmuter of negative energy. Now, this is really the time for light workers to get out there. Worker of the light. We're talking about a very dark time for humanity, and then we have light workers, but a lot of light workers are actually pulling in and retreating. And the reason is because these emotions, the stress, this paranoia is really overwhelming for them. So instead of doing their job and getting out there, they're actually retreating and falling back and staying scared and trying to energetically protect themselves. So letting people know, because it can feel very overwhelming, but what you should be doing is you should be clearing your energy. You should be properly grounding. You should be spending time in nature to release and transmute this negativity and kind of create positive energy for the world or collective. And then do something productive with that energy, whether it's reaching out to your community, creating an online community board, making connections, like sharing links and information for local help centers, checking on neighbors, whatever it is. And kind of just a lot, Facebook is free. That's why I like that platform. It's free. Anybody can access it. Most people have internet. If you don't have internet, most people have cellular service. Cellular service can pick up internet. So you can create a community board that, well, here in the US, it's more likely. You can create an online community board that allows people to access that information in their homes and keep in touch with everybody. Don't let anybody suffer in silence or go without something as silly as wipes if they really feel like they need wipes or have children or are stressed out. Don't be like that guy who collected 17,000 sanitizers hoping to make it rich at the sacrifice of everybody else. Just help. Just learn to help. And so with this, I just wanted to share the information about the void and how to kind of stay clear. If we think about how my daughter was reacting, does that help her? No. Did it almost harm her? Yes. She literally almost passed out from fear. And if we think about ourselves that way, we have to realize that we are so completely useless when we are terrified. We are completely useless. Our body goes into fight or flight. We go into survival mode. We want to think only for ourselves. We want to do only what we want for ourselves. We become very selfish. It's a very difficult place to be emotionally and physically. It is not helpful for anyone. And it puts us in extreme, fear is restrictive energy. It's very restrictive. Our thoughts restrict, our energies get restricted, and even our soul doesn't like that vibration. It's very low energetic vibration. It kind of pulls out, and we have this strong disconnect between what is and our fear of what could be. So if you want to find clarity and peace, meditate. Spend time outside. Transmute that negative energy. Release it. Do not allow your mind to wander. Do not allow yourself to get pulled into the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. Do not allow yourself to go over these obsessive what ifs. Do not allow yourself to be constantly reminded of any and all traumas you've experienced in all lifetimes. Try to understand that your thoughts create your reality. Your thoughts literally release chemicals in your brain that your body, mind, emotions, energy respond to physically here. So even if it's creating a false story that's imaginative and shows that you are living your best life and clear and focused and understand that beautiful change is coming, read the story out loud and try to make it, try to integrate it into your emotional body to release some of that stress. Pretend it's a staycation, pretend that everything's just fine. And with awareness, of course, we have that awareness. I'm just talking about bringing people back into a state of mind and energy that's productive and not self-destructive. At this point, we're seeing like worldwide panic. Is that helpful? Absolutely not. We can't accomplish anything in that. It's causing people to run to the store and clean out shelves of toilet paper. First of all, there's none of the symptoms of corona have toilet paper issues. It's not like an explosive diarrhea bug. So that's kind of like what I mean about functioning in chaos. When you think that you're spending your life savings on toilet paper, it's not rational. That's not rational thinking. Rational thinking would be calming down, relaxing, and thinking of productive action that would be helpful or supportive for growth and change. Something useful. Like one of the examples I mentioned was, if you're nervous about food and you can't store food in your house, there's always like the powder shakes or even breakfast shakes that can go a long way. It can be very nutritional and easy to store. There's a lot of options out there that if we can kind of step outside of our own fear, we can see them a little bit better. And I hope that everybody can kind of step out of their fear long enough to take positive, productive action. And it really does make me very, very sad to see how some people are so overwhelmed by this. So that's why I jumped on to create the video, even if it was in my sweatshirt in the car in the middle of the day. And I hope you find it supportive or helpful in some way. Also, so just note, this is the destruction of a lot of systems that no longer serve us, but it's also a tremendous rebirth. It is also a grand worldwide awakening. It is also a massive energetic spiritual shift. It's also the beginning of something amazing. So if you can kind of put that aside long enough to push through it, then you will be around to see some really beautiful, amazing things happen here. If you want more information on all of those changes, I would suggest, again, the Compassion Congregation, which is free on Facebook. And then the article in the comments, the article has some written out ideas for staying calm and taking productive, positive action and trying to be a beacon or light in this time of chaos for others who can't find their own inner peace and their own calm. And I hope that all the information is helpful. If you have any other ideas or topics, or if you have questions around this, this thing, please ask. Just ask in the comments. I'll do my best to answer and go about it and support people in this shift. I know that a lot of people depend on me for kind of that clarity and peace when they're going through something like this. So I'm trying my best to be informative and just share as much as I know. And I know the only reason why I'm calm is because I've direct communication to spirit, and they've been telling me about this since 2018. So I've been prepared for too long, almost probably it feels like too long. And I hope to be able to share some of that information and awareness with people so that they can feel as calm as I feel during this situation, and they can find some productive or even beauty in all this chaos. Time with your family. We've played basketball more than I've ever played basketball. I'm probably going to lose some weight. That's positive. It's been stressful, yes, but we found, I always say, look for light in all situations. That's something I've been trained to do my whole life. One of the reasons I probably also am handling this fairly well is I feel like my whole life has been a lot of catastrophes, especially as a child. Being homeless and struggling with poverty most of my life has really made me a very innovative person who has trained herself to see the positive in all things. So it's interesting when, I feel like a lot of the people who are really stressed out about this have never really been negatively influenced by something like this ever in their lives. But, when we're talking about lack or struggle or fear of not affording things or lack of food or lack of supplies, that's something I've had to face most of my childhood. Therefore, I've learned to be very innovative and creative, and I've learned to kind of look for the light in all situations because it keeps us from emotionally drowning. Now, the way that I say look for the light in all situations, I visually see somebody who is trying to stay above water. And the reason is because if we feel like we are drowning, if we are in a room of emotion, if we are consumed by negativity, if we cannot peer for one good thing, then there's no way out. The one good thing becomes our roadmap, and it becomes our walkway, our road. And it's fascinating because it's gotten me out of all things. And it's not because I avoid the shadow. It's because I know how to get myself out of that darkness long enough to observe the shadow appropriately and break through it. And what does that mean? The shadow is negativity from our environment. It's inner trauma. It's outer trauma. It's abusive people. It's lack. It's suffering. It's struggle. It's a lot of really important human lessons, but very overwhelming human lessons. And it can put us in a place where we just don't see a way out, where we don't see how this could possibly end well. And of all of that, I've been able to find one good thing. And that one good thing becomes my beacon. And as I move forward to that one good thing, I find myself slowly pulling out of that shadow. And then when I get out, I can observe in a different kind of, it's almost like looking down at the water. You don't have to be drowning in it. If we're drowning in it, we simply can't properly observe it. We are still in survival mode. We have to first get out of it. So following that one good thing and getting out of it actually puts us in a position where we can face that constructively and make change in our life. So it is something that I give. It's something I share with a lot of my patients who have struggled with trauma too, or, struggled with really overwhelming situations. So I hope that also is helpful for everyone. And again, ask questions. I'm looking forward to hearing your questions. Please stick to questions regarding, what you are feeling or what's going on around you, or energetically, maybe grounding, whatever it is. Not conspiracy theories. Like I said earlier, don't get lost in that rabbit hole of the what ifs. It's really not helpful to anyone. Most conspiracy theories that I've gone over in my career have turned out to be nothing but imagination. And like, I see all. I see spirit, I see soul, I see history, I see past lives, I see soul groups. So when I'm talking about going into these, I went into these objectively looking to see all and seeing like, oh, does this correlate? Is this conspiracy theory true? And what I found is many times it's just paranoia and fear taking over and creating this elaborate story. It might have some threads of truth, but not enough threads of truth to create a sustainable healing road or process or help anybody at all. It ends up being more of a distraction to healing. So that's why I say try to stay away from them. They end up really not being very helpful at all. And I've seen people get absolutely consumed with their own conspiracy theories and the theories of others. And a lot of them just turned out not to even be true or hold much substance. So I would try to stay away from those altogether. I know that there's a lot of them going around, and it was kind of sad and horrifying because the other day I said it's not too long until people start the witch hunt. And of course, now we're doing the blame game. We're looking for any and anybody to blame for all of this chaos. And the truth is that it's a global pandemic and nobody is more responsible than anybody else. All humans of any race, ethnicity, or background have equal opportunity or chances of conducting the virus. It does not choose color or race. Just because we have traced it back to China does not mean all Chinese are infected here. And I know that a lot of people might find that shocking, but please do not allow others to treat others with racism or aggression. Please do not allow people around you to be dehumanized and attacked. And I couldn't even believe I was seeing this on the news the other day. I always think that we're out of these patterns, and then of course there it is. So see something, say something. Don't ever let anybody treat anybody disrespectfully. It's statistically proven that a bully bullies because they think that nobody's going to stand up for this person. When 3 people, 4 people stand up for this person, even one person, it becomes 2 against 1. Usually they are cowardly and back down. So just say something. It's incredibly ignorant thinking to think that an Asian American here would be somehow, like a corona vessel, and everybody they touch somehow corona infected and they're coming here to destroy us. It's absolutely ignorant thinking. Please don't let anybody do that. Humanity has always found a way in all mass hysteria to pull out a scapegoat, and I just implore people and hope that people will not allow that to get dangerous. We don't need any more witch hunts, if you know what I mean. So let's stand clear of those two, please, and stick up for people when you see that they're being bullied out in public or being ostracized or treated poorly because of their skin tone. Not okay. All right, everybody, thank you for listening. I hope that the information helped in some way.